Hey guys, welcome back to Book Solid. We have a really fun episode for you guys this week. We are going to be talking all about the Walt Disney World Resorts, everything you need to know about value, moderate, deluxe, how to choose the best resort for you and your family, all the things.
Benefits of staying at a Disney resort and why you will hear us pushing staying on a resort or at a Disney World resort. You get your lightning lanes at 7 days. And let me tell you, that can be a game changer, especially during busy seasons.
I was going to say, if you're wanting Slinky Dog Dash and you're staying off property, you're not going to get it. I hate to say it, but the chances of you getting a lightning lane for Slinky Dog Dash, the hardest lightning lane to book.
So if you're staying off property, you can't book your lightning lanes until 3 days ahead of time. So to Brianna's point of not getting Sleeping Dog Dash, those who are staying on property had a 4 day window ahead of you to now then already have grabbed up a lot of them. There are ways you can stock that app. There's websites that have the math and the data to when new things drop. So it's possible, but it's hard, especially during those busy times. You get your dining 60 days ahead of time, plus 10. So when your check-in day is 60 days ahead of time, then you can make your dining selections through your whole trip. If you're staying off property, you are literally doing them 60 days at a time. The transportation alone and not having to worry about driving around
The
is
transportation center, hard pass.
it's
Hard
just
pass.
in general. I hate driving around Disney property. I'm going to let them drive me places. Like we did mention for our deluxe resort guests, they do get that extended evening. If you're staying on property, you get 30 minutes early extra magic hours. 30 minutes before the park opens,
Mhm.
resort guests get a little extra wiggle roaming time. Those are some of the why you will hear us say the benefit, why we kind of, I hate to say push so hard to stay on property because the benefits truly outweigh staying off property and this just the more logistics that you have to do.
I mean, I feel like I throw this in every single time because I don't think people truly understand just how large Walt Disney World is. It's 43 square miles. I will literally bring that up anytime I can. Until you're in the Disney bubble and truly see how it is, it's not. And what's also confusing to know, it's not literally like a little bubble. Everything is spread out. When you're on the bus, you're going to notice this that you're going to go through the highways and then you're going to veer off onto Disney transportation. Like because it is such a large like theme park, it is so massively spread out. Like it's not all congested that once you know, let's say you take an Uber, once you enter in the Disney bubble, like you can literally go. No, you can, it is so spread out everywhere that when you're on the transportation, you're like, oh yeah, they weren't joking. So that's another reason. Like honestly, when I work with families, I don't even discuss offsite. I once I bring out all the reasons to stay on site, they're like, yeah, duh, we're gonna do that. It's it's not worth it. The amount of time that you add to your day trying to get to the park because you're going to have to deal with ticket and transportation center, which is a nightmare. Having to park in these massive parking lots, they're huge. And then just trying to get to it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You may save a couple extra dollars, but then you're going to make up for that in extra time added to your day. If you want to take a break, well, you're adding even more time just to get back to your resort or wherever you're staying, an Airbnb, what have you. So, honestly, I personally, when I'm working with Disney World clients, I don't even entertain the thought of offsite. It gets a little confusing when you talk about adding on another destination like Universal. Then that's where we can kind of discuss other options. But if we are talking just strictly going to Walt Disney World, I won't even consider offsite. It's not worth it.
Yeah, and like you said, looking at your time, but I mean, you got to then consider parking price at each of every day that you go in. And that If you have littles, then are you relying on this other resort and their transportation? I'm not even going to get into that, but or are you driving in? Like, there is a lot of extra logistics if you're staying on site, but we're talking about Walt Disney World resorts. So let's start with value and talking a little bit about what a value resort for Disney World is. It is going to be the lowest cost most cases. Um, there's 5 value resorts. If you're All Star Sports, All Star Music, All Star Movies, Art of Animation, and Pop Century. Typically, these resorts have the least amount of options for food. They're more of a cafeteria style dining hall situation. Their pools are the most basic, not a bad thing, just basic. By basic, I mean like no slides. There are some splash pads, and there is some like theming, but no, yeah, like I said, like no slides, bigger entertainment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then they typically have the most simple transportation option, which is usually for the all stars, it's just the bus transportation to get to all the parks and all the places. For Pop Century and Art of Animation, you do get the Skyliner to get to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Otherwise, the bus is going to take you to the other places.
So, yeah, so with the value resorts, you really only got basically two options in terms of the room types. You have your standard rooms, they are very small. So, if you're a family of four, you are going to be packed in like sardines. You really don't have a whole lot of wiggle room. Usually, the standard rooms are going to have your two queen beds. One of them will be kind of like a little Murphy bed situation where you'll pull it down. So that does free up some space if you're wanting to kind of hang out in your room for a little bit. You can at least put one of the beds away so you have that extra space. Or you will have a preferred room. When we're talking Disney, preferred means you are closer to the main lobby building within that area. So if we're talking Disney's All Star movies, you're going to be placed at Fantasia or 101 Dalmatians. Fantasia is the second you walk out of the lobby, boom, right there. And then to the right is 101 Dalmatians. And if you go to the left, it's Toy Story. So that's pretty much the main two. They do have, it gets a little tricky. When you have All Star Music, they have a suite option, which sleeps, I believe, six, if I remember correctly. And it's got a kitchenette, like a little kitchen, some more sleeping options. It gets a little confusing too with Pop Century. Pop Century has really the same two, standard and preferred. It just depends on where you want to be located. You could do a standard pool view where you're going to have a view of the pool. They have a little bit of more variety, but really it's just standard and preferred. With Art of Animation, this one is kind of in its own league. It's not a typical value resort because this is the resort that houses the suites, with the exception of the Little Mermaid rooms, which are the furthest away in that resort area. And those just sleep four. So think your standard rooms, that's Little Mermaid. The suites sleep up to six, and you've got Lion King, Finding Nemo, and Cars. You can also book a guaranteed kind of state, or I almost said stateroom like we're cruising. A guaranteed room where they will just assign you one of the three categories upon check-in. So if you want to save a little bit of money and don't necessarily care which of the three you're placed at, it is a possible option. Something to know with the exception of Art of Animation, because again, it's in its own league in terms of pricing because it's suites. Usually, value you can expect to pay about 200 to 300 per night. That depends on promotions, time of the year, all of that. But because of inflation, pretty much the consistent pricing is around $200 a night, especially at the All Stars, which are the cheaper options.
The values are, I mean, they're your simplest, most straightforward, easy way to get to stay on Disney
Mm.
property. And we'll kind of go into later who the value and what type of traveler the value works best for. I have seen that there is a king bed option at All Star Sports at least. So moving then into the moderates, we have Port Orleans Riverside, Port Orleans French Quarter, Caribbean Beach, Coronado Springs.
Mm.
So for moderates, the rooms are going to be a little bit bigger. You might have then a few more dining options at
Mhm.
these resorts. Some have like a sit down, all have kind of like a cafeteria type style. Some have like specialty, like French Quarter has your beignets. These resorts, they typically have a few more transportation options, except for Coronado Springs, which only has a bus. Port Orleans has a boat that'll take you to Disney Springs, but a bus everywhere else. Caribbean Beach is the hub for the Skyliner. So you have access to the Skyliner, take you to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, and then a bus to take you everywhere else. I would say, I mean, resort wise as a whole, these are more on the larger side compared to our value ones. Coronado and Caribbean Beach are very large. Port Orleans, I would say they're good size, especially when you put them together.
French
Um,
Quarter is smaller. Riverside is the one that's massive.
more space and spread out is what a lot of people, for sure, with Caribbean Beach and Coronado Springs, that is probably the one most consistent thing that we hear is these resorts are huge. They're not wrong. Some of them, even Caribbean Beach has an internal bus. It's that large.
I can't remember if you mentioned, but specifically with the pools, when you get into moderate, this is where you're gonna have slides. So I honestly, you can't go wrong with any of these resorts. I think these pools are absolutely stunning. I think you can't go wrong with any of them if you're looking at that kind of price point. Something else to know about the room types, if you're a family of five, this is pretty much where most of the time I start you anyway, because your family size is already big enough. You're not going to fit into a standard room unless you have like a baby, maybe. Just know it's going to be extremely cramped. So I usually push for moderate because you're going to have that extra space. You can book a fifth sleeper, which will, and let me preface this by saying the little fifth sleeper is the size for a child. An adult cannot comfortably sit on here. You could probably make it work if someone is not like extremely tall, just, mid, like 5'5" or something, maybe. But it is the perfect size for a toddler or like a younger kid. By the age of like 10, maybe into the teenage years, it's too small. So you do have that option to do fifth sleepers. There is a lot of options when you get to moderate in terms of the room categories. Obviously, you still have your standard basic room. You have your preferred, which when you're talking specifically about Caribbean Beach and Coronado Springs, it's a non negotiable when I'm working, especially with families, that you're staying preferred. Because I can't tell you how many families that I have worked with that did standard and came back to me and said, yeah, we should have done preferred. I'm like, I tried to tell you. For price point, it's it's hard to say. It could be sometimes closer to 300, more so in the 400 range. Sometimes, again, it depends on time of year, when you're going, all of that. It could also reach to 500. So anywhere between 300 to 500 is kind of the sweet spot for moderate.
As someone who has done all the levels, I would say my comfort zone is the moderate. And I've done moderate and then gone back to value and was like, what happened? You look at the specs and you're like, oh, it's only a couple extra square feet. It's a couple extra square feet. It does truly make a difference. But if, again, nothing wrong with value, I still love value. I love a good pop. I love a good all stars. Now moving on to deluxe. So buckle up because
We have a lot.
there's a lot of deluxe. Our deluxe resorts are Disney's Contemporary Resort, Bay Lake, Disney's Grand Floridian, Disney's Polynesian Village, Disney's Wilderness Lodge, Disney's Fort Wilderness Cabins, not the campgrounds, Disney's Saratoga Springs, Disney's Old Key West, Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, Kidani and Jumbo House, Disney's Beach Club, Disney's Yacht Club, Disney's Boardwalk Inn. Lots of deluxe resorts to choose from. And with those deluxe resorts, you have an immense amount of room options to choose from. The amenities vary greatly. Transportation options vary depending on where you want to stay. Animal Kingdom Lodge only has buses. Then you have your monorail resorts, your Epcot boardwalk resorts that then have the Skyliner. Some of the Saratoga and Old Key West have boats to take you to Disney Springs. Otherwise, they only have buses. Water transportation at the Epcot boardwalk and Magic Kingdom Bay Lake
Mm-hmm.
resorts. The pools at these resorts are one of the things that are similar across all, that they're all highly themed. They have the extra slides and experiences. Beautiful. The most sought after pool is Beach Club with the sand on the bottom.
And you can stay at Beach Club or Yacht Club because they
Right. And
share.
food options are varied across. Almost all of them have a sit down. Saratoga Springs does not. However, it's so close to Old Key West, go to Olivia's if you're interested, or Disney Springs is right down the way. With our deluxe resorts, too, they get certain perks that our other resorts don't. They get extended evening hours, which are actually great value if you can make it work for your family.
And that's where once the park closes for the night to literally everyone, they will stay open. I think it's for an extra hour where only deluxe, or is it 2 hours? I can't remember.
I think it's at least two,
Okay, I can't remember.
if not more.
But they will stay open just to deluxe, and they are Disney doesn't play when it
Mm-mm.
comes to knowing who's supposed to be there and who's not. They don't even try. They will know if you're supposed to be there or not.
They start scanning magic bands or park tickets at every attraction before you get on. Some of these resorts are large. Old Key West and Saratoga are quite large, but they are more of your villa. So if you have a bigger family, they have the two, three, one bedroom and a lot more space.
Hmm.
You are going to get more space at Old Key West for your money in Saratoga than a two-bedroom at the Polynesian or Grand Floridian. But then you lose the convenience of being on the monorail. So, I mean, as we continue to go on, there's definitely pros and cons to all the resorts, and what works best for each family is very different.
I think it's worth noting why Old Key West and Saratoga are that way. So, something I'm sure as you're researching Disney World, learning about it, you're going to hear the term DVC. That just basically means it's a timeshare. So, Disney has, with all of the deluxe resorts, or not all of them, but pretty good handful of them, timeshares set up with families where they'll lock in a timeshare or whatever. Some of those rooms are allocated to DVC only. It gets really confusing, but this is where that is part of the reason why Old Key West and Saratoga are a little bit different than the deluxe, because they're the original DVC. So back when they had started it, it was a little bit different. Now they've kind of just streamlined everything, if you will. That is something very complex to talk about. We personally cannot book if you're looking to do DVC. That's not something we can do. You would have to go directly with Disney. At all of the resorts, they will have somebody there. They'll have like a little stand essentially where you can go learn more information. But sadly, this is not something we can do for you guys. But keep that in mind. Because of that, they're going to have as Amanda mentioned, the most room categories. If you're wanting a lot of space, you have to go deluxe. If you're, I've had so many, especially recently, I had a family come to me specifically wanting a 3 bedroom suite. And I will tell you, if that is something you are gung ho about, it is extremely hard to lock in those room categories because there is a very limited number of that room category. The chances of you actually successfully grabbing one is very small. So if you're able to snag one, props to you. I checked literally every single resort multiple days. I could not, and I know how to navigate the system very, very well. I cannot populate them. Your 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom, they're going to be the most common, especially if you're wanting just that extra space, the extra kitchen space, the extra bathrooms, all of that. You have to go deluxe. They are not, you're not going to see those options in moderate in value. You're just going to have mostly those basic room types. For pricing, obviously, because you're the closest to the parks, for the most part, you're it's really hard to give a number to this one. The easiest way to give a number is 500 and up. Again, time of year is going to be a factor. Sometimes you can get it lower than that because of different promotions going on, but start at 500 and then go from there. If you're going to be closer to Magic Kingdom, you're looking at the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian. Those are very expensive, but you're within steps to Magic Kingdom. So it just depends on what your ultimate goal is when choosing your resort.
So now that we've gone through each of the different categories, let's kind of break down who might each category kind of work best for, which type of traveler, family. Because it's not a one size fits all. It's not what works well for one family is not going to work the same for the other family. And then working with somebody who knows these resorts and how they work and how they're laid out, we can help guide you to what resort is going to fit you guys the best. So, thinking of starting at value, usually it's for those who kind of just want, I always hear, I just want a place to sleep. That's great. Value could be a great fit if you're not planning to spend much time at the pools. If you just literally want a place to sleep, then values could be a great option. If you don't mind the buses, you don't mind kind of being a little bit further away, you want to spend more time, maybe you're doing more park days or dining plan, or lots of times, not lots of times, sometimes our value guests will then add on a VIP. So put that money that they might have spent in a resort and put it elsewhere. Values could be just for those who just want to get on property. We don't have the budget for the value or for the deluxe or even the moderates, and that's okay. But staying on property, that's what they want. They want the perks of staying on property. They want the perks of staying on property, the lightning lanes, transportation, all that comes with vacationing, living in that bubble, that Disney bubble. Our value guests, they need to stay on a budget. They just want to stay on Disney property. Maybe they're putting their funds in a different bucket for their trip. Those are some of the situations I see that those value resorts are.
I was definitely going to say too, with the exception obviously of art of animation, that's the one that's kind of like the anomaly to this category. Usually your families of four are perfect for this category. Again, if you don't mind the limited transportation. And then, or just like a group of friends. I would definitely say once you get to 4 adults, we've even done it before, it's extremely crammed. When you have kids, it's a little bit different because they're smaller, but when you're talking adults, honestly, I would budget and go maybe even deluxe, honestly. So you really have that extra room. Moderate, I feel like it's still not going to be enough if you're talking truly like adult, like 4 adults. I honestly would go deluxe at that point.
And thinking too for our values, if you have two kiddos, say one's a baby, so then you have the pack and play, the stroller, your luggage, and all the extra things kiddos come with, that room does fill up very quickly. So then our moderate resorts, we kind of already touched on it. This our family of 5 with 3 little kiddos. The Caribbean Beach and Port Orleans Riverside is a great option for you guys with that extra 5th sleeper. This is a great option. Moderates are a great option for families because of the extra pool amenities, some of the extra transportation amenities, some dining options. And the rooms are a little bigger. So you're going to be able to fit that pack and play, the stroller, and not feel like you're walking over them every day. Just pulling.
Whenever I'm onboarding clients, because I always do a consultation call when we're, especially if they have no understanding of how these different resorts work. When I'm going through each category, when I bring up moderate, I say, okay, d- don't judge me. I'm like, these are your bougie categories. These are the ones where you kind of want to be a little bit nicer, but still a little bit cheaper. Like you're literally right in the middle. These are literally bougie. That- That's the easiest term I always throw to families. They're like, oh, okay, so not super fancy, but not like value, where it's a lot cheaper. So the room, I mean, they're a lot nicer. So I always just say bougie, and that usually helps. Also, the transportation I feel like is the biggest selling point, honestly, for moderate. You don't want to pay necessarily the deluxe tag, but you
Mhm.
still want to have a little bit more options in terms of transportation. I mean, you can't go wrong with moderate, honestly. It's a great middle tier, literally bougie.
It is a great middle tier. And when I provide clients with options, I've been doing like, okay, I hear you. You wanted convenience, you wanted space. So this is what's going to get you everything. And that's usually a deluxe. If you, I did this with a client recently. And so it was, they were doing only one day at Magic Kingdom before their cruise. So I'm like, okay, how about Polynesian? It's right there. It's this price point for 2 nights. You're right at Magic. Room enough for everybody. And then I gave them Art of Animation, a little more room, a little more space, similar price point, but it was a family of 5, so 3 kids. So they needed a little bit more space. Um, so I gave them a family suite at Art, and then I gave them a Riverside option with the 5th sleeper because no, it's like a 4-year-old. And I said, this will give you space, but also then has your lower price point. So you have your one with your convenience and your all in that hits all the boxes, and you have this one that going to give you a little more wiggle space, but still kind of at that topper higher price point. And then you have our lower price point with enough beds, little tighter situation. Still all amazing resorts, but it each one fits the family. So just putting it in the system, they're all going to pull up, but knowing the little intricacies between and the differences between the resorts is what the value of a travel advisor is going to give you versus just popping it in and be like, that's a pretty resort. I'm going to choose that one.
So for deluxe, I feel like the easiest way to say who this is best for is truly those that want to be fully immersed in the magic. When I'm going through each tier, I always say value is your budget friendly options, moderate is bougie, deluxe is you want to be fully immersed in the magic 24/7 the entire time you're there. You want the convenience of being possible steps from Magic Kingdom or a super quick boat ride, a super quick skyline or something, whatever form of transportation is offered there. You want to have, if you're looking at the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom suites, here you go. If you're wanting those deluxe evening hours, having the park shut down to just deluxe resort guests, there you go. You kind of just want to go all out. Maybe this is like a one and done kind of trip, and you want to all. all out stops. Let's, deluxe, we're doing bippity boppity boutique, we're doing Viet, like all the things. That's also another reason to stay here. Obviously, all the sit down restaurants, they are arguably some of the best. Honestly, I mean, you still have some pretty good ones in the parks. We can always get into that too. But arguably, a lot of these resorts in the deluxe tier has some of the best dining experiences. Now, if you want a little tip, little side tip, you do not have to stay at any of the resorts to physically get a dining reservation. So if you're staying, let's just say you want to have a nice dinner. You want to go, say you're staying at Disney's All Star Movies, literally bottom tier, as cheap as they get, and you want to go to the Grand Floridian and you want to go to 1900 Park Fair. Boom, you can go. You don't have to stay at the Grand Floridian to be able to dine there. Obviously, like the pools and stuff, you do have to be staying at that specific resort in order to use the amenities. But strictly dining and kind of just walking around, you're more than welcome. I always tell my clients, especially if they have like a downtime, I'm like, hey, you guys can go take a boat and go hang out at Port Orleans Riverside and get you some beignets. Or, you can go walk to the boardwalk and go literally to all three, the boardwalk, beach club, yacht club, and go hang out. You can go to the boardwalk and get yourself corn dog and hang out. You don't have to stay at those specific resorts to enjoy a lot of the things that they offer. You can still walk around.
The other thing that these deluxe, most of them, not all of them, that if you want to then kind of take your vacation to the next level at these resorts is to do club level, which offers you there a set of rooms. When you book it club level, then you get access to a lounge that then has snacks, drinks. They're able to they're able to like support you if like something kind of happens. You kind of have a little bit extra layer of support at that club level with the staff there and the cast members in that area. But for some families, just having access to that extra food and drink kind of outweighs the cost of staying at the club level.
Something to note though, when you're talking club level, you're not going to have full on meals. They will have a lot of like snacks and things, which for kids, you can easily make a meal out of it. Like they'll have Uncrustables. You can also get Mickey bars here too. It kind of just depends on the type of resort you're staying at, depends on specifically what's offered. Time of year also is going to be a factor on what's offered, but you can literally stop at the club level lounge and get literally snacks throughout the whole day.
I think morning they have a little bit more of a kind of a continental type breakfast too.
Mm.
For my guests that typically stay at a deluxe, they're looking for the convenience of being close to the parks, being able to come back to their resort during the afternoon or something. Maybe they're just doing a 1 day park day. And so staying close to Magic Kingdom makes sense for them. The other thing I find with deluxe resorts is that a family is so big that they have outgrown the values and the moderates, and we have to put them in deluxe just so that they have enough space, which is where then Old Key West and Saratoga do come in handy because they are at that lower price point.
And the rooms are huge too.
The rooms are,
So they're cheaper
I,
and the rooms are bigger. So
I did mousekeeping at Old Key West. The rooms are massive. The 2 bedroom, you get your king, your queen, 2 queens, and then you have a pull-out couch. And I think they now put like a twin in there too, like a pull-out twin. Sure. Plus your full kitchen. It is a full kitchen, 2 bathrooms, a laundry room. It's a lot of, and it's a 2 bedroom apartment. There is no other way to describe it as a 2 bedroom apartment. They're lovely, and they just recently got refurbished not too long ago. But they do have their studios, which is a 2 queen, 1 bedrooms that are king, and then your living area. So they have other options that aren't just the 2 bedrooms. But yes, sometimes that's what I tend to run into is I have to put you at Deluxe because our moderates can't hold. Our moderates and our resorts can't hold everybody. Um, and I get questions a lot about connecting rooms. The only time, and I say this hesitantly, that Disney will guarantee a connecting room is if the adults or the kids outnumber the adults. It's closer to like a 4-2 type ratio than
Yeah, I was
even
gonna say
with
once
a
you break a
three to
family of
two.
six,
Yeah.
family of six, where you're already breaking a lot of the value barriers, the moderate barriers for your families of five with that fifth
Mhm.
sleeper, that's when you're gonna have to do a guaranteed connecting because they
And
understand that one adult's gonna have to be in the room with two kids, one adult in the other room with the other.
and that's why I say it hesitantly because we could technically do an adult in each room. Um, but don't get me wrong, they will do their best. We put all the notes, and in that instance, I always tell my clients just go check in at the front desk, let them know that you need that connecting room. Don't even try to do the online check-in. But
Mm-mm.
I will add all the notes on the back end as much as I can, but checking in at the front desk is going to be your best option.
That
Um,
and because if you do online check-in, it's computer generated. So it's not going to fully understand, hey, I have one big family that needs to be split up. If you go in person, honestly, I always tell my clients, I'm like, don't do online. It's just go talk to someone because not that it's going to happen. You could all there's a chance you could get pixie dusted. You could get put into a nicer room just by simply talking to the cast member. You never know what can happen. You never know.
mhm.
And it's literally only going to take you a couple minutes, honestly. They're super fast.
We can always request a connecting room, and it is in theory, like I said, I say hesitantly, guaranteed in certain situations. So we have shared a lot of our insights and working with clients in helping them choose the right resort that's for them. And that is the value, again, I've said it already, I know, of working with a travel advisor and finding one you know, like, and trust, whether it's Brianna and I, or you have somebody that you know that you are excited about, that you love, work with them. Don't try to do it on your own. Not saying you won't have a great vacation, but it could be that much better working with somebody who knows Disney and who experiences it and lives it daily. Um, you're gonna save your you are gonna save yourself hours of research. You're gonna have somebody there to ask any questions. They're gonna be able to help you find that right stateroom. Transportation, even from the airport. Do you need support with dining reservations? Walking through lightning lanes and what that looks like. There are so many things and little minute details with the Disney vacation that I feel gets lost, that could get lost, that we're on top of. And we're going to send all those reminders to you to make sure you are set up for success. Brianna and I both specialize in Disney. So if you are wanting a Disney vacation, reach out to one of us. We would love to help you. You're still thinking there's still plenty of time for 2026. There's still a lot of great promos out there right now. Um, we haven't even hit November, December promos yet.
No, not even fall. Fall hasn't come
There's
out yet. It's only
not
some.
October. There's been some September.
A little bit.
Yeah. If 2027 is on your bucket list, get in touch with us now. I'm already filling up my calendar with calls so that when they are released, I can just shoot you a proposal and we then don't have to wait to get. We will put our socials and our contacts down there. Reach out. We would love to connect. follow, subscribe wherever the buttons are. And we will see you next time.